Good evening. I am Maureen Bellino, the District Clerk for the Putnam Valley Central School District, and I welcome you to the reorganizational and business meeting of the Putnam Valley Board of Education. Following the reorganizational portion of this meeting on the agenda continues on with business meeting items. Would everyone please rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first order of business tonight is to administer the oath of office to our newly elected trustee, Mr. Joseph Ferraro. He will be sworn in this evening for his 3-year term. Mr. Ferraro, would you please stand and recite your oath of office, which is from Article 13-1 of the New York State Constitution?
I, Joseph Ferraro, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Trustee, Board of Education, according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. If you please sign that, appreciate that. You are now officially re-elected as a member of the Board of Education.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. The next order of business tonight is to call for nominations for President of the Putnam Valley Board of Education. Do we have any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Ms. Janine Rufo for President of the Putnam Valley Board of Education.
Would you accept that nomination?
I accept the nomination.
Second.
Any further nominations?
I move to close nominations.
Second.
I call for a vote. All in favor of Ms. Rufo for the office of President?
Aye.
Any nays? Ms. Rufo, would you please stand and recite the oath of office for President?
I, Janine Rufo, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of President of the Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Ms. Rufo, we now turn the meeting over to you, and we'll ask you to ask for nominations for Vice President. Oh,
You're gonna
over here.
vote change?
Yeah.
Change
Let's
seats?
change seats.
Look at Mr. Jones already. You were confident in me.
It's all stagecraft.
Okay. All right, the next order of business, thank you, Ms. Bellino.
Thank you.
Okay. The next order of business is I would like to ask for nominations, where am I? For Vice President of the Board of Education.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Joe Ferraro as Vice President of the Putnam Valley Board of Education.
So moved. Are there any other nominations?
I move to close nominations.
Okay, Mr. Ferraro, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Ferraro, will you please? There we go. You got it?
It's right here.
Oh, good.
I, Joseph Ferraro, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Vice President of the Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, the next order of business, I believe, is to administer the oath of office to the superintendent of the schools. Okay. Dr. Wills, will you please recite your oath of office?
I do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Superintendent of Schools of the Putnam Valley Central School District, effective July 1st, 2017, according to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wills. Okay, now that we're all in place, our next order of business is to, and this is a delayed report, to have a presentation about the audit committee report. I think we had done it, and then someone didn't have you have to sign as well. Will you introduce yourself, Barbara?
I will. I'm Barbara Parmley. I'm the...
Hold the microphone up. There you go.
If it breaks, it's not my fault. I'm Barbara Parmley. I was chair of the audit committee for this year past. So the audit committee had its final meeting for the year on June 20th, 2017. The Audit Committee would like to make 3 recommendations to the board. First, after reviewing the 5 bids for an external audit firm, we would recommend PKF O'Connor Davies. They gave us a better price than we are currently paying and have the advantage of providing consistency and fluidity. Second, after reviewing the 2 bids for an internal auditor, we recommend remaining with Acume for this next year with the understanding that we may re-look at proposals at the end of the upcoming school year. Finally, upon reflection and evaluation of how the Board of Education Audit Committee functioned this year, we recommend some changes to the current charter. We feel that the changes will help us work more effectively and efficiently in the future. I have sent a draft of the current charter with the changes that we recommend and the rationale for those changes, and Mrs. Bellino will get you a copy of those and you can discuss them at your next meeting. Additionally, I'm pleased that many of the current Audit Committee members are interested in continuing their service next year. That will provide consistent advice and assistance to the board. Letters of interest from other community members will also be accepted. Questions? Guy?
Who is the external auditor?
The external auditor is PKF O'Connor Davies.
O'Connor Davies, okay.
There are current auditors.
Okay.
Yes.
And their price was, they gave us a really good price, in fact, less than we're paying them this year.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we had that right. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
They were our current auditors, so.
Yes.
Correct. And Acume is also.
Yes.
We've been using Acume for internal.
Yes.
Right, exactly, okay. All right, so we have a copy of the draft.
Yeah, Warren will send it to you.
Okay, so
Okay?
we'll have to look at that,
All
talk
right,
about that
thank
at the
you.
next meeting. And may I just add that that's a fully volunteer position, and there are a lot of very dedicated neighbors and community members that are serving on that committee, so we are very grateful. Okay. Moving on to the public comment on the agenda items. Are there any comment on the agenda items tonight?
Or are there any public?
Are there any comments? There is a public, they're just
Dan's
not
technically
physically
part of
here.
Yes.
Okay. And as this is the reorganization meeting, we do have a number of business things to do. So we do have 2 consent agendas, I believe. So moving to the consent agenda for personnel and other appointments. Ms. Farrow, can you read us number 1?
I'd be happy to. Resolved to approve consent agenda for personnel and other appointments as per items 2 through 43 as presented to the board at this meeting.
Second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
Okay.
Go ahead.
For those who, this is fairly long, so you can want to get coffee. We're appointing Maureen as the district clerk. Ms. Maureen is continuing as district clerk. We're appointing Jill as treasurer, payroll clerk, purchasing agent, and assistant district clerk. We're appointing an assistant treasurer, a purchasing agent, the tax collector. We're appointing Dr. Wills as our record access officer. Natalie Doherty is our Title 6, 7, and 9, and our DASA person. We're appointing the district safety officer, Mr. Pat Bellino. We're appointing treasurers at both the high school and the middle school. We're appointing DASA coordinators. We're appointing DASA coordinators at both buildings.
All 3.
At all 3, at each building, yes. We're appointing a board of registration. We're appointing a free and reduced price lunch team. We're appointing a 504 committee and chairperson. We're approving teacher aides as substitutes, so a teacher aide can now substitute, and we're approving across the board for that. We're approving district teachers as tutors. We're approving the chaperones for student activities. We're approving the high school department chair people. We're approving the middle school and the elementary school team grade leaders. We're appointing head teachers as mentors. We're approving the high school twilight school team. That's a team that works with students who come in after the regular session to work. We're approving our district webmaster, Alex Groffman. We're approving the Board of Education videographer, Mr. Dan, who's out there. And we're approving a volunteer videographer for our athletic events, and we want to all thank Tommy Hirsch for being our volunteer at all our sporting events, and thank Tommy for the great job that he does. We're approving the CSE, the CPSE chair people. We're approving staff who work during the summer for pupil personnel services and for the summer regencies. We're approving a 10-month calendar personnel. We're approving summer hours for the nurse and for the middle school guidance people. We're approving the pep band coordinators. We're approving the external auditors, who you just heard were O'Connor and Davies. And we're approving the internal auditors, Cume Associates. We're approving additional time for instructional support specialists. We're approving the Elementary School Character Education Committee, and it just disappeared. My notes. No, my notes just disappeared. Excuse me. We're approving, here it is. We're approving, oops, disappeared again. There's something wrong with the computer tonight.
It's a lot.
Keeps disappearing. We're approving the 10-month calendar year personnel. I think I already said that. We're approving summer hours for the high school nurse and middle school. I said that. Approving additional time for instructional support specialist people. We're approving the elementary school character education committee. We're approving the middle school chorus accompanist, the person who assists the chorus there. We're establishing a capital planning and facilities committee. We're approving the 4 coaches and assistants, and I should say that I have a family member who coaches women's field hockey. We're approving college essay workshop teams. We're approving the proctors for the August research. We're approving the kinder camp staff. We're approving the post-season sports coaching stipends for all our teams that had, extended spring seasons. We have an extra stipend for them. We're approving summer work for the computer support specialists. We're approving the list of substitutes for the 2017-18 school year, and we're approving a nurse RN substitute for the summer.
All in favor? Aye. And just as a reminder for the public watching, many of those things you may be wondering, are we changing them? They're the same as last year. Our board policies and New York State board policies say that we have to reauthorize and reassign all of these positions each year, and that's the purpose of tonight's reorganizational meeting. So we're not getting rid of anybody or changing anybody. Almost everyone is the same, and is certainly available for further, if anybody wants details. Okay. So now we're moving to consent agenda number 2.
Resolved to approve consent agenda, other business, items 2 through 26, as presented to the board at this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Sure.
Do you want to do it?
You want to get your other coffees? We're approving the minutes from both June meetings, Board of Ed meetings. We're approving school bus driver physicals and drug alcohol testing. We're designating as our district banks JP Morgan, Mayapack National, Key, and Cooperative Liquid Asset Security Systems. We're providing petty cash funds for each of the buildings. We're defining how the district clerk will open and manage all bids. We're designating our school newspapers as the Journal News and the Putnam County News and Reporter. We're approving district membership, that the district will belong to the New York State School Boards Association, the Westchester Putnam School Boards Association, Westchester Putnam School Boards Legislative Action Committee, the Mid-Hudson School Council, and the National School Boards Association. We're approving membership for Dr. Wills in the American Association of School Administrators, Lower Hudson Council of School Superintendents, Lower Hudson Educational Coalition, New York State Council of School Superintendents, Putnam Northern Westchester Chief School Administrators, Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber of Commerce, Putnam Valley Rotary, and the Putnam Valley Area Chamber of Commerce. We're adopting the Children's Internet Protection Act, which tells how we're going to try to protect our students and all our children when they go on the internet or using it. We're appointing our impartial hearing officers. We're approving the CSE and the CPSE placements, and we're appointing members to that committee for both parents and non-parent members. We're approving transportation contracts for students who have special needs during the summer. We're approving that Shore, Perelson, May, and Lambert are our legal counsel for the year. We're defining what athletic placement process is, so how do we define if a student is qualified to be on a certain team. We're approving health and welfare contracts with the Lakeland School District for students that are going to private schools in that area. So if you're going to like Kennedy and you have to use the Lakeland services, we pay Lakeland for handling those students. We're approving the meal prices for the free induced lunches and what it's the eligibility to get those. And we're also approving the cost of the regular lunches. We're approving the bond council. We're readopting the whole policy manual. And we're adopting our guidance plans, our ASI plans, our professional and development plans, and our special education plans. We're approving agreements with the Sheriff Department. We're approving contracts for transportation for the summer schools. I already said that one. We're approving the advisors for the summer college essay workshop. We're approving the following special education service bids. Occupational therapy went to Diana Morgan. Physical therapy services went to Alexander Graf Mueller. And parent training, ABIS, went to WIHD. We're approving agreement with Fiscal Advisors Group to work with the district, and we're approving a coaches support clinic to help coaches out who are just new to every process.
I do have one question or comment about the Coaches Support Clinic, which we just heard about recently, and I think it's a great idea, and I understand that we're going to be using our current or former coaches who have expertise in the coach. Will attendance in that be mandatory, or is it just part of their coaching responsibilities? That is, the attendance is not a stipended position. No. Just the person facilitating it is a stipended position.
It will be expected that
because it's part of their
new coaches
position,
would
right.
participate.
It's part of the stipend they receive for being coach in their condition
Right.
of employment.
Exactly.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Anybody else have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Okay. And Dr. Wills, do you have a superintendent's report? I know we've only had school,
Actually-
been out of school for about 4 minutes.
No, but it's been a very busy time. And we've already started some of our planning for, not just next year, but even for the summer orientation. Jeremy Luft, who is our new Director of Learning and Educational Innovations, Opportunities, has begun working in a number of areas, working with an ELA committee, and we're working on the times that school starts. We have to be very cognizant of the fact that the state has come out with some very specific guidelines as to the kind of hours that you need, the number of hours you need in a week. If you have an early dismissal day. So let's say we have parent conferences. Maybe, Jeremy, you could talk a little bit about what we've been doing, because it's been very interesting and a lot of calculations. So, impromptu. I know.
I got it memorized. I've done it.
I know.
I should warn you that Dr. Wills does this quite often.
No, I don't.
You never
Yes,
know
you do.
when you're plucked out of the audience to give a
But it's
report.
good. Everybody, we have things on their feet. It's perfect.
So in order for, according to the new state aid guidance, in order for the day to count as an instructional day, there's a minimum number of hours of instruction that has to take place. They do allow for early dismissal days and still to count them towards instructional days for the conditions of professional development or parent-teacher conferences. But the caveat to that is that you must guarantee a certain number of hours during that week. So for the elementary schools, it's 25 hours of instruction. And for the secondary schools, it's 27 and a half hours. Now, those hours are after we back out lunch, and at the elementary school, we believe recess time as well. So what we had to do was figure out what the student days were, the number of hours that they get in the 4 full days, and then the number of hours they would get in during an early dismissal day. And we think with slight tweaks to the student day, without any impact to the contractual teacher day, we can reach that threshold that would allow us to still get credit for days where we dismiss the students at a half day and hold conferences in the afternoon. And then it opens the window for the possibility to use similar days for professional development activities.
So in the event that we had a parent-teacher conference day in December but had a snow day that week, we might have to, and we have, just because of what's best for kids, we might have to postpone. And I know we did that at least once this year.
So
Or do
part of
we
the
have to do that?
state aid guidance has allowances for closing for
Okay,
stuff
inclement
out of
weather, natural
our control.
disasters.
So snow
Okay.
closings are one of the things they list is it would have no impact on it. But if it's a shortened week, so say there's a holiday in that week And we also wanted to have a half-day. There's a prorated number,
Okay.
22 and 22 and a half hours in which we would have
It's very
to.
complicated, and they're still working on new guidelines, on clarifying the guidelines, I should say. There's an advisory committee, but one of the areas where we knew we needed to work was at the elementary school that designated 9:20 as the start.
When
Whereas-
really students arrive at 9:05.
But that's it. So, and the teachers are in their rooms at 9:05. So what we have to
Exactly.
do is designate 9:05 as the start. But it's always been designated as 9:20. So that means we have been talking with transportation, and we need a place so that the students can get off the buses and come together in the auditorium and then go to the classrooms at 9:05.
And those 15 minutes over 180 days
Yeah.
is 45 hours.
We've been calculating this and
Doing a lot
saying
of
it's an
adding.
extra week.
Okay, all right, wow.
So,
Lot
I mean,
of-
the other piece that we have to still explore is, that's a big block of time, is the impact it would have on the final week at the middle school where they have the testing week.
Right.
So we have to still figure out how that would look and, for us to make sure we get credit as those,
Yeah.
Okay.
for those as being instructional days.
Yeah, the idea is the 180 days that we do
Right.
get state aid on depends on the calculations, on appropriate calculations.
And I know there are some schools that don't do the middle school exam time. They do block scheduling or something like that during that time, so.
So I met with Travis and Nicole today about it, and they're exploring solutions for how that week may look different in a way to make sure we guarantee that we're getting credit for those days.
So
And that's-
Jeremy just started, he started on Monday, and we had a day that we didn't have school this week with the fourth,
And that's-
so busy.
You know, the issue has always been, the elementary school has been essentially carrying the weight for the other schools not having classes in the last 2 weeks of June, or June classes. I mean, that's universal, fairly universal.
Yeah.
So we're saying that those final days, in theory, don't count as educational
Well,
days?
For this year, we don't think we're going to have an issue because there are many schools that were concerned when these guidelines were published just in
He's
April.
correct.
And so they're looking at how they're going to look at them next year. And so we will have to determine how those last days are used. If we'd met our 180-day, from the state point of view, then that wouldn't be so much of an issue the last couple of days. But if we haven't, which is likely because of, various weather conditions, we would have to have school, full day of school.
Okay.
So it's a different situation.
Matter of when do you have finals then? Right? And then the question becomes, when do you have final exams? The final exam dates don't count as teaching days.
Are you talking about the element, no,
I'm talking about high school or middle school.
high school,
High school days count.
That's
The high
different.
school Regents
This is
days,
the
there's
Regents.
built into the
That's
state aid
completely
formula. They get credit for those days because it's the
Yeah.
nature of the test.
yeah.
The middle school doesn't have the same, with the exception of some eighth graders taking Regents. It's different. The high school is covered with, I
Yes.
believe they get 6 Regents scoring days, Regents administration days that all count as instructional days.
But we would have to make sure that we had non-regents on those same days in order to piggyback on regents days. Ultimately, I mean, you couldn't have days where all the regents exams are over and still have other final
Yeah.
exams that weren't regents exams.
This new guidance wouldn't have any impact on the high school
Wouldn't have.
schedule as they do their exams, because they're already allotted X number of days, and that's when they schedule their exams within those days, both state or they do the local beforehand in class. But really, the concern is the middle school. They have sort of a Regents week without all the Regents exams, and I know they've moved to performance-based assessments. So Travis and Nicole are looking at ways in which they can continue the use of those performance-based assessments, but do it in a way that doesn't cause them to have half days of school like that, or early dismissal days for students.
So they would have a full day,
Yeah.
but then do some tweaking of the
Yeah,
schedule. Okay,
they're working on that.
okay.
Thank you.
And that's after 3 days. Can't wait to see what 3 weeks brings. Okay, do I have any public contribution?
Oh, by the way, reading challenge at the elementary school is very popular. And you always see the students coming in. And presenting what they've accomplished, so they get a book. It's
That's
a
right.
very nice interaction.
And that's usually do that
throughout
at one of
that.
the first full meetings,
Yeah.
right? That's nice.
It's lovely.
Anything else from the board? Oh, we have to do new business?
Yes.
More stuff
Did
to
I
do.
skip new business? I wanted to go right to the end of the meeting. I apologize. Let's move to new business. We never did consent agenda first. Completely threw me off. Mr. Ferraro, number 1, please. Thank you.
Resolved on recommendation of Superintendent of Schools to approve the provisional appointment of Deborah Monteferrante, Senior Payroll and Benefits Clerk on Step 6, the CSEA salary schedule effective July 1st, 2017.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Number 2.
Resolved on recommendation of Superintendent of Schools to appoint Daniel Mahoney to a 26-week appointment effective July 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2017, extendable to August 31st, 2018 as a Media AV Tech Support Specialist on Step 9 of the CSEA salary schedule.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Number 3.
Resolved on recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools to amend the appointment of Rebecca Capsuto, approved at the board meeting of June 15, 2017 as follows. Appoint Rebecca Capsuto as a 4-month long-term substitute as a technology teacher at the middle school effective September 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2017, or sooner at the discretion of the Board of Education, at the substitute salary rate of $125 per day. Ms. Capsuto's certification in educational technology, K-12, is still pending.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Number 4.
Resolved to accept the resignation of Alice Poley, a part-time behavior specialist from the district effective July 1st, 2017, as per document number 23/18 attached to the official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Now, I would like to open it up to public comment. And now, I would like resolved to convene an executive session for 2 matters of the employment histories of 2 particular persons, after which time no further business will be conducted.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good evening, everyone.